Hi, and welcome back to 1 Acre in the Napa Valley here in the Yountville AVA for episode number 10. This will be our training episode. The last time we were together was about 9 weeks or so ago, and if you take a look through the vineyard, you can see that there's quite a bit of green. The vines are growing real well. I thought it might be interesting to go back to the same plant that we pruned at episode number 9, see how it's done, and then we can see how to actually develop the trunk and the structure. It's back behind me over here, so let's go have a look. So here's the little plant that we pruned last March, about 9 weeks or so ago. I put a little tag on it here so I could find it again, be easy to find instead of just trying to recognize each one of them. If you may recall, we left 2 buds on this plant, but now we've got a good amount of shoot growth. You can see all of this grew up in about the last 9 weeks or so. So it's really been growing well. As high as that is, it's probably grown about half an inch a day or so over that period of time. Now, what we want to do here is put all the energy into developing the trunk system, and then we'll be able to develop the structure up above. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut off these other little shoots that developed and allow the plant to put all of its focus right in that center trunk. And nicely enough, the little fella here grabbed a hold of the pencil stake and it grew nice and straight. So what I'm going to do, if you look down here, we'll cut off these 3 shoots that actually developed, and I'm going to cut them back enough so I can let a little dead wood develop over a period of time, and then I'll trim those back a little later. So I'll cut this one off first. There's our first one, and then we'll cut the second one off here, and then we've got this little extra shoot right here, and we'll cut it off. And there it is. Now we've got an actual trunk and development of the vine. Now if we take a look at the top of the shoot right here, this is our single shoot now, you'll see that at the top we've got our growing point right here. This is where cell division and cell growth is taking place. This is called the apical meristem. And what's important about that is we can use that to also gauge if the plant is well hydrated or not. Is it got enough water? And if you can see, the little tendrils here are out in front of or out beyond the growing point, and that lets us know that it's got enough water, it's well hydrated. Now if you look in a little closer, what you will see, and what we're going to do here is we develop the structure of the vine. There's a couple of different ways to do this. One, you could develop a cordon, which would just be taking this and laying it down. I'm going to cut the little tendrils off here. We'll kind of give him some support in a moment. But a cordon could be developed simply by laying this out, and then each of these points will develop a spur. But what I'm going to do, because I want to do spur and cane pruning, I want to have each of these points here that are pushing shoots develop a spur. This vine is almost ready to make that cut. What we would do is we would cut it just a little bit above the fruiting wire. But you notice here it's only about 2 or 3 inches, maybe 4. It's still kind of a small little shoot, and we would want that to grow a little bit more. So if we look at the plant right next to this one, you can see that this one is a little better example. It's just a little higher. See, we've probably got maybe 10 inches or so of shoot growth. And we'll do the same thing when that one grows a little bit more. But what we can do is develop the spurs. You see right here, this little shoot, that's actually growing a shoot and what would become a cane. That one is also. So I want 4 of these for my structural development of the vine. There's one. There's a second one, what'll become a spur, a third, and a fourth one. So what I'm going to do is top it just about a thumb's width, about right here. And now what will happen is the vine itself will begin to push at these points because we've clipped off the apical meristem, the growing point on the single shoot, and then at this point, now the vine will begin to push on its own at each of those different points and begin to develop the actual structure. Just to keep it a little bit straighter too, we took some of the tendrils off. If you see right here, these tendrils, it's really kind of fascinating about them. The way the cell is developed, or the cellular structure in the tendril, they basically just make right turns. And that's why they keep wrapping like that. Anytime they touch something, they just keep making right turns instead of growing out straight. It's kind of like NASCAR, but in reverse. So I'm going to take this one off here, and we'll bend them around, and then I will put just a little piece of tape here around our trunk. And that'll hold them in place. There we go. And what we'll wind up with now is the structure will begin to develop. Now, if you look down a little bit lower, some of these other shoots have also began to push, like this one right here, but that's not a part of what I want in the 4 up above. So I'm just going to pop that off, leave the leaf, and take this one off, and we'll do the same as we go. And that'll take off some of the growing points there. So now the growing points up above will be the ones that will fully push. There's another plant just a row over that I trimmed like this or pruned, maybe a few days ago, maybe a little more, almost a week ago. Let's go take a look at that, and you'll see what this one will look like, and our friend right here in just a week or so, and you'll be able to see the structure develop. So let's head over there. So here's a little plant that's about, maybe a week or 10 days ahead of the ones we just looked at. This one, as you can see right here, I'll kind of bend it over. I topped that a little while ago. That'll just turn into dead wood eventually. But what's happened now, you can see a very nicely defined trunk that's begun to take shape, and from the little buds that we saw and that we left on the other one, we've actually begun to push out little canes here, whereas where the spurs and then the canes in the future will come from. So that's pushed out laterally this way. There's one here on this side. I probably can't see it from the angle there, but here's another one, and then a fourth one at the top. So that's actually what the plant will begin to look like. All of them will as we progress along through the summer. There's one more thing that, even though it's sort of painful, that's important to do. And with these little plants, as they start growing like this, they'll actually push some fruit, some berry clusters. But if fruit begins to develop on the plants too early, like now, what can happen is the energy from the plant will go into developing the fruit instead of the trunk and the structure. So as you can see right here, this plant has actually got a little berry cluster. They've even pollinated. There's some little berries there. Much as I hate to do this, I'm going to take that one off, and there's also one right here that's developed too. So I'll cut that one off also. So that'll finish up episode number 10, the training of the vines. As each one of the little vines reaches the same stage as the ones we saw today, we'll use the same process and continue to train them right up the wire and develop the vineyard so the structure of each of the plants is just what we saw them. Oh, and we had some very nice news too, some good news that I wanted to share. About 2 months ago, my 2008 1-acre Cabernet from the Oak Knoll district actually was the highest scoring wine in a large international wine competition that was held in Hong Kong. 500 wines were blind tasted from 27 countries. And the 1-acre Cabernet, 2008 vintage, it won a double gold award and also a trophy for the best valued wine from the United States. So I was very excited about that. And these plants are actually cuttings from that vineyard. So it'll be exciting to see how they turn out too. Well, thanks very much for joining us here at 1 Acre in the Napa Valley, and we'll stay in touch as the vines continue to grow and see its progress as the summer goes along.